right, welcome back to the Paperstac podcast. Doing another great series, one of the series today out of my first note purchase. Bob Repass back here at Note Expo live, which is really good. We don't do these too often live, so excited to be here, Bob.
Well, we're excited to have you, especially since you missed last year. Not to give you a hard time or anything, but Brent,
how do you remember that?
Hey, you know, there's certain guys I always remember, right? And we appreciate Paperstac always being a huge sponsor for us, and being a friend of yours and Brett's is always great to hang out.
Yeah, man. Last year, for the record, I had a trip planned, and I moved that trip this year to make sure I was here. So
okay, I thought you were deer hunting.
I was. That was that was the trip. Okay. And so I fly back in on Saturday. I spend Sunday with my kids and my family, and then I fly out on Monday to go deer hunting in Ohio. So we're going to talk today on this episode. We're talking about Bob's first note purchase. Do you remember it? What can you tell us about your first note purchase? Because you've been a veteran in the industry. You've taught me a lot when I went through note school, and I've learned a lot from you. And I know your history and time in the industry, it's long and vast. What can you tell me about it? Tell us a little bit about where you came from, what you're doing.
Well, I started in the business in 1990. Okay. And for those of you that have either been around or like to read history books, the big buyer at that time was Metropolitan Mortgage out of Spokane, Washington.
Yes.
And I went to work for them. I left a job at a bank. I went to work for them.
Did you move to Washington?
No, they wanted to open up an office on the East Coast. At the time, I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina. Oh, beautiful. So I went to work for them. So I've bought literally tens of thousands of notes over the last 30 plus years. When I worked at Metropolitan back in the early 90s, the company policy was if you worked for them, you couldn't buy notes for yourself.
Okay. Wow.
Right, so I didn't personally buy any notes for myself.
Just because they didn't want you competing, or
right, conflict. You take the good one, sell the other one to the company. Things like
Gotcha.
that. What I would like to tell you about is the first note I bought in my self-directed IRA.
Okay, I'd love to hear this because we actually have a lot of the investors on Paperstac, and a lot of our listeners are self-directed retirement investors. They're taking their retirement accounts, buying notes they bought in, and so this is going to be good for those who are doing it, and also for those who have never done it or interested about it. So tell me about it.
Well, that's a little bit of background. Working for various institutional investors like Metropolitan, then I worked for the Associates, then I worked for Bayview Financial, and now I'm at Colonial Funding. Mm-hmm. We really would buy loans anywhere. Okay. As long as the numbers made sense, whether they're performing, reperforming, non-performing. We were not geographic specific. Okay. Personally, I like to buy notes in areas that either I've been to, I know people that live there, I've lived there.
Okay.
It's maybe one of those destination spots, like who wouldn't like to own a note in Myrtle Beach or someplace like that. So I use that filter. Okay. So we had a loan come across our trade desk, and it was a small loan, I think $80,000, and it was located in Kingsport, Tennessee. Okay, so if you look at Kingsport, Tennessee, it's up in I guess that would be the northeast corner, right by Bristol and all that, okay? And looking at the picture, it's just a little white house, rural area, and you would say out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. So if you had the eyeball test, a lot of people say, well, it's too rural, too remote, I don't want to do it. Well, it just so happened that my dad grew up about 10 miles from there. Okay. And one of his sisters still lives in Kingsport, down the road from this house. So, I had that emotional attachment. Okay. Anyway. It's like, what can go wrong? I can rent it to my cousin or something, right, if I ever got the note back. Well, it was a short-term note. Payments like $880. Borrower always pays $1,000 a month.
Yes.
Right, so he's paying it down more. Perfect loan to go in your IRA.
Yeah, perfect.
For years at Colonial, we had a company 401k. Okay. So we would buy loans for our 401k. Well, we liquidated that and each set up our own self-directed IRAs, so we could do our own. So this was the first note I put in that self-directed IRA, and it's been spinning off $1,000 a month. Just a little rural country house. If you saw one of those, Chip and Joanna houses, this is it.
Listen, I know so much about what you're talking about because I purchased a note in Kingsport, Tennessee It was the TM Property Solutions trade.
Okay.
That big one, the big one. And that was a while ago. That was 2013, 2014. Ended up having to, it was a non-performer, foreclosed on it, fixed it up, put a renter in there, or put a owner finance to somebody.
Okay.
And just
got a performing note out of it?
And kept it for so long. And we actually ended up selling it a couple years ago. Just getting out of it. Yeah.
But I think, if you can find a lot of people.
What about that note? Like, so it came across your desk. What you look at it? What about it was like, okay, I'm interested. Other than the Kingsport, Tennessee, what was like step one is obviously, hey, I know the area.
You know the area and you're comfortable with it, right? And then number one to me is probably just the propensity to pay of the borrower, right? We call it seasoning a lot of times.
Yep.
How long has a person been in there? And that can be offset if they put a huge down payment and have only made 6 payments. But this guy's been paying for like 4 or 5 years.
Perfect.
Right? So
he's paying $1,000 instead of $800.
Exactly. A 15-year note, and there's like 11 years left on it.
Okay.
Probably less because he's been paying $120 more. So the AMP schedule was coming. So the money's not going to be out there forever, right? I mean, technically, I could already do a withdrawal from my IRA. I think I'm past the age. So, I could take a distribution. But now I still want to add some money to it.
Yeah.
And the other exciting part was my wife, Angie, we've been married 41 years, and she works with us at Colonial, as needed basis. But she handles a lot of the post-closing aspects, and she works directly with IRA custodians. Well, now she had to work with our IRA, even though it's with my IRA. To her, it's our IRA, right?
Yeah.
So she knew all the details about what we got to get this form filled out. We got to do the direction of investment. So she was like, I didn't have to worry about it. But she was more like interested. She's usually the back end, like, okay, button it up.
Yeah.
But now she was like, tell me about the numbers. How does that work? So he's going to give us $1,000 a month, and we're going to buy that discount. And, she knew all this over the years, but now all of a sudden
she's apply it.
Exactly. So that was an exciting part because I could see her getting like, well, she was counting numbers in her head, how much money we were going to make and everything.
It's so cool though to see. Sometimes when like with Brett works with me, and he's been around the note space forever. But his marketing his background is marketing. He lives, breathes it, does it, business development. So he just bought his first note. We actually he was the last person we did this with. Was just last week. Brett did my first note purchase. But it's really cool to see somebody who's been around it for so long, then to like, okay, I'm buying one, I'm applying it, I'm looking, I'm seeing, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
So it's good. So, okay. So this one was pretty easy. It was pretty like, hey, this is a cut and dry. Did you do BPO, title, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we did BPO. And again, years and years of experience. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I look at a BPO as a property inspection.
Yes.
Right? Pride of ownership, good condition.
Yeah. You can learn more than just the flower bed. You learn more than just the numbers.
Right. So we call it the eyeball test. Are they taking care of the property? Is there any indication that either the house is in disrepair or they don't really care? Mm-hmm. So we do that. And then obviously title, you want to be in first position. Yep. You want to make sure that there's no other liens, taxes, all that current, that kind of stuff. So we do that. And then we have pay history. And it's a little different because throughout my career, I've bought a lot of mom and pop seller finance, which this was.
Okay.
But I've also bought a lot of institutional paper.
Okay.
Right? So when you buy institutional paper, as you know, you've got third-party loan servicing records, collection comments, all that. When you buy a mom and pop seller finance, you may have a receipt. You may have a checked off AM schedule. Yes. You may, so you got to we do a borrower interview like that. So before we bought them, I actually had Angie call the borrower.
Okay.
And say, we're going to buy your note. Is there anything wrong with the house? You're making your payments on time, and that kind of thing. So that was good. But we got comfortable with the pay history. So the ability to repay, and the property's in good condition and clear title.
Did you onboard it with professional third-party servicer?
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
I always tell people I recommend it to everybody. I would.
Oh, yeah. And again, going all the way back to my days at Metropolitan, I worked with Sheila and Melissa, who now own Allied. Mm-hmm. So I've known them for 30 plus years. So guess who I boarded the loan with?
Of course, perfect.
Right? So they made it easy on us. They know us, and, we just put it over there. And one thing I like about that, if we ever did want to sell a partial, Allied can service the partial as well. Perfect. So I could just leave it there. And the transition period from the borrower paying the former note holder and now sending payments to Allied have been smooth.
That's perfect.
Yep.
Oh, it sounds like it was a home run deal then. It's just
don't jinx me.
Easy, I won't.
But speaking of home runs, I do have to rep the Texas Ranger shirt here as we won the World Series.
There it is. Well, congrats. I was telling Bob earlier, I was really hoping for you guys to lose yesterday so we could come and see, as we're here in Dallas, we go right over to Arlington and see Game 6 potentially tomorrow. But nevertheless, you guys were a force to be reckoned with.
Well, the disappointing part on top of that, if there could be one, winning the World Series, they picked tomorrow, Friday afternoon at 12:15 for the victory parade.
What?
Yes. I was like, didn't you know Note Expo was going on tomorrow? I thought I was hoping for Sunday. The Cowboys are out of town. I thought, let's do it on Sunday. So we'll miss the parade.
Oh, man, that's a bummer. So, okay, we always close this out with a piece of advice. You've been in it for a while. What would be a piece of advice right now that you'd give to somebody who's in the space or somebody who's really getting into the note space?
Well, they should be at Note Expo. And if they're not at Note Expo 2023, which starts tomorrow, they should go ahead and register now for Note Expo 2024 because you are going to have the ability to hear great content speakers, meet 30 plus vendors and exhibitors in our trade hall, and connect with 400 plus real estate and note investors and just grow your business. And
it's like jump starting. It's an environment that's conducive to growth. And so I always tell people educate yourself is the first thing. Yep. But you can educate yourself here. You can learn. You can start bringing in, like you said, connect with vendors. Everything you need is right here.
Yeah,
like you can run your business just from being here.
The history of that note, we're going to have loan servicers here, IRA companies here, BPO vendors here, forced place insurance, title companies. So everything
marketplaces,
you need, exactly, start to finish.
Yeah,
right, and all in one spot. And especially since the pandemic, but even before, it was, no business from anywhere. A lot of virtual stuff, right? And now anybody who can work from home works from home. But every once in a while, once, twice a year, you need to get out and meet those people face to face.
Absolutely.
And, connect or reconnect. Like I could see you once or twice a year and just at trade shows.
Yeah, it's perfect though.
Yeah, because any more than that, I don't know if I can handle it.
Well, on that note, Bob, I appreciate it. This has been another episode of the Paperstac podcast, my first note series. He said it, really, you need to be at Note Expo. If you're not, check us out. We will have a discount codes at some point next year to get you guys in or get you guys registered. This is Rick Allen, Bob Repass, coming to you live. We appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next episode. See ya.